LGBT, T de transgênero, T de travesti, T de tendência, T de talento de trabalho, T de transformação, T de tech, T de empregabilidade trans pra todos. Junho é o mês do Orgulho Trans. Seja um aliado. Venha somar com a gente na feira e marcha do Orgulho Trans de São Paulo, o maior evento trans da América Latina, de 3 a 24 de junho. Confira a programação completa em orgulhotrans.com.br.
Olá, eu sou Pri Bertucci, CEO da Diversity Box Consultoria. Em parceria com o Pacto Global, trazemos esse curso para vocês saberem mais sobre o universo LGBTQIAP+. Com ele, além de tirar a maioria das suas dúvidas sobre o tema, você conseguirá levar para dentro da sua empresa a promoção da diversidade sexual e de gênero, atingindo assim mais dos 17 Objetivos do Desenvolvimento Sustentável desenvolvidos pela ONU, a ODS 5, que visa igualdade de gênero. Esses 17 Objetivos do Desenvolvimento Sustentável foram criados para a gente chegar em um planeta mais sustentável, justo, digno para todos, todas e todes. Vamos começar a nossa viagem pela diversidade?
Da sigla LGBTQIAP+,
eu me identifico como uma mulher lésbica.
Ai, que delícia de pergunta. Sempre quis responder isso, de verdade. Eu me considero uma mulher trans, queer.
Por una razón política, me identifico como un hombre trans y me identifico como una persona bisexual.
Ser uma mulher negra, lésbica, lidar com pautas mais urgentes do que pautas que geralmente uma mulher branca lésbica enfrenta, como o racismo que a gente sofre diariamente no nosso cotidiano, no nosso trabalho, inclusive nas nossas relações afetivas.
The whole notion that being transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming is actually not new. It's not an invention that we just came up with. Throughout history, throughout cultures and societies all over the world, we can see folks who have not conformed to gender standards, who have been a third gender, who've been two-spirit, and who've in some way transgressed these particular gender roles. We see them everywhere. We're talking about it a lot more now.
Siempre hicimos parte de la tierra latinoamericana y de otras naciones, solo que nuestra historia todo el tiempo ha sido callada. No, la historia de las naciones no está escrita por nosotros y nosotras. Entonces eso es lo doloroso, porque no hacemos parte de la historia y por eso ahora la gente se sorprende que haya gente que ¡ay! ¿Cómo así? ¿Se quieren cambiar el sexo? Pero es que las personas venimos haciendo tránsitos desde antes de la colonización de las Américas.
Dentro da sigla a gente tem diferenças e lutas mais específicas, né?
A gente precisa especificar cada coisa para elas poderem existir, para a gente poder reivindicar o lugar delas no mundo.
É difícil dentro de uma empresa você falar eu sou lésbica, eu acho. Apesar das coisas estarem mudando, acho que tem empresas que estão mais abertas. Imagino que algumas, não sei, por exemplo, como é dentro de uma fábrica, falar que você é sapatão. A gente sofre com pequenos conselhos, né? Não só dentro de empresa, mas com amigos, do tipo, pra que você vai falar que você é sapatão? Não precisa. E isso é uma homofobia clara, assim.
Olá, Pri. Olá, pessoal. Um prazer estar aqui com vocês, dividindo um pouco da minha experiência com o curso EAD do Diversity Box. E o que eu achei muito interessante é porque o tema de diversidade e inclusão não é algo que tem que estar na agenda do RH das nossas organizações. É algo que tem que ser praticado no dia a dia de todos os líderes e colaboradores para que você crie um ambiente inclusivo de fato. E esse é o grande desafio que nós temos hoje, né? Como grandes aliados da causa promover a diversidade e inclusão, é necessário que a gente comece com um ambiente de respeito. e para respeito, a gente precisa reconhecer a nossa ignorância no tema e estar aberto para aprender. E foi isso que eu aprendi aqui. Eu achei muito interessante, Pri, quando você traz para a gente uma perspectiva do nosso tamanho, sendo mais de 7 bilhões de pessoas, que seja quase impossível que nós nos encaixemos em 2 pequenos padrões. Isso já faz a nossa cabeça explodir de possibilidades. E ao abrir essa possibilidade de conhecimento, entender que cada sigla, que cada letra tem uma representatividade na nossa sociedade, e o quão importante é para a gente entender, para que ao promover um ambiente respeitoso, todos se sintam à vontade para estar nele e produzir o máximo do seu potencial, é que vai trazer para a gente um grande retorno para todas as organizações. Por isso esse tema é importante. Trazer e promover um ambiente inclusivo e diverso reflete em produtividade, reflete em aumento de receita, mas ele não pode ser feito de qualquer jeito. Por isso que o curso foi tão importante para mim. Eu acho que eu dei um grande passo, aprendi bastante e estou ansiosa para o próximo. Conto com você, hein, Pri? Até mais!
Pessoal, meu nome é Felipa.
Meu nome é Eduardo. Meu nome é Caio Henrique.
Boa tarde, me chamo Danilo. Eu sou Arinã.
Boa tarde, eu sou Carlota.
Boa tarde, meu nome é Vanessa.
Meu nome é André.
Olá, meu nome é Vitor. Eu sou Camilo. Eu sou um homem trans.
Eu sou a Raquel.
É um prazer estar com todas e todos vocês aqui hoje, para ver se a gente se aprofunda nesses conceitos LGBTQIA+, e estar com todos esses candidatas e candidatas aqui incríveis para a gente trocar, né, muita experiência de todo mundo.
O nosso negócio, ele é formado por pessoas, o nosso business são pessoas, e é para pessoas e por pessoas que a gente faz tudo isso. E como principal pilar, a gente muda a vida de todas as pessoas, e é por isso que hoje nós estamos aqui. E a gente vinha quebrando muito a cabeça de querer fazer algo diferente. Nós buscamos aí o melhor parceiro para nos apoiar, que é a Diversity Box. E com todo o seu know-how, é a consultoria mais renomada do país, quando falamos de diversidade, precisão, assertividade e responsabilidade. Seguindo aí um modelo 360 e oferecendo a melhor solução quando falamos de sensibilização, senso e treinamento. A população trans é a população mais sensível quando a gente está falando de comunidade LGBTQIA+. E hoje a gente vai trazer para vocês pessoas que não só elas que estão aqui, mas inúmeras outras representam muita resistência, tá? Resistência e sobrevivência. Então estão aí lutando, com bastante experiência profissional, estão buscando vida acadêmica, e vocês vão conhecer essas pessoas. E aí eu volto para vocês, para entender o tamanho da responsabilidade que cada um de nós tem aqui em diminuir essa distância que existe entre todas as pessoas que fazem parte dos grupos minorizados e as grandes corporações.
É uma questão de que aquela pessoa é expulsa da escola, é expulsa da família, é expulsa, enfim, diversas adversidades que aquela pessoa passa e ela ainda continua viva. Você tem ideia do que é continuar viva? Passando por todas essas adversidades, significa que você constrói diversas habilidades para sobreviver.
A gente tem um dos produtos que é o diagnóstico de RH. Sim, é interessante ver porque tem gatilhos e gargalos dentro do processo de contratação e do recrutamento que estão totalmente enviados. Então, a flexibilização das vagas é essencial para esse processo de equidade.
I think it's a beautiful question about what is diversity. And I've been hearing more and more, especially from diversity and inclusion trainers, how sometimes that word doesn't mean enough, right? So in some way we say diversity. We can walk into a room and maybe everybody looks different, but everybody has the same education and everybody's the same class. Is that diversity? And you can argue that it is, but are you willing to talk about it? That's another thing. So diversity is not just having poster people or token people represented, but it's actually listening and having contributions be respected by the people who are coming from diverse backgrounds and diverse experiences. Right now in the US, the business news is talking about how more diversity, sex, gender, class, race, is actually more productive for your company, because I as a black trans man might be in the board meeting and I say something that's so out of the box that other people get triggered and then they go, oh yeah. So it helps to bring more creativity versus everybody's the same with the same experience, all saying the same thing.
Eu acho que um dos papéis que o RH tem que ter, que eu acho que foi o que a gente construiu, né, enquanto eu era RH, Red Bull e o Diversity Box, é a ponte. Porque eu lembro a primeira conversa que a gente teve foi essa, assim, porque existe um lugar do saber e da experiência que vocês têm, né, LGBTQIA, e vocês têm, que é um conhecimento teórico muito grande, muito profundo, e a gente que está lá na empresa, cis, que já está no meio corporativo há muito tempo. Como que essas duas coisas falam? Porque às vezes elas estão em lugares tão diferentes, às vezes parece que elas não falam, que elas discutem. E aí quando se você fica nesse lugar de discutir, se você fica em um lugar de saberes muito distantes um do outro, você não cria o lugar da fala, você não cria o lugar do encontro. Você cria dois lugares de saber que vão estar polarizados e aí você pode até criar o conflito, né? Porque eu sei, eu também sei, e aí? E aí eu acho que o RH tem que ser essa ponte, assim, e acho que é uma coisa que também que o Diversity Box ajuda muito, essa ponte entre esses dois conhecimentos. Então tá bom. Então existe esse conhecimento, essa experiência LGBTQIA, que a gente tem que se apropriar, a gente tem que entender, e existe o corporativo, que tem suas regras, suas políticas. Como que a gente dialoga? Como que a gente cria essa ponte? Esse eu acho que é um dos papéis que o RH tem também.
Eu acho que sempre tem, e a única forma que eu vejo de entrada é quando, sei lá, um grande CEO de uma dessas empresas resolve se sensibilizar pelo caso. Se não é de cima para baixo, e tem que ser assim, tipo, olha, eu quero que essa empresa tenha diversidade. Se vocês que trabalham aqui, os outros, sei lá, por cento, branco, não gostam do tema, tudo bem. Problema de vocês, e tem que vir de cima. Não adianta o cara ali da ponta falar, olha, eu quero levantar esse assunto. O único jeito que eu vejo, assim. Tem que sensibilizar o cara que está lá em cima. E, bom, nessas grandes empresas tem que mostrar que isso dá lucro. O Carrefour já provou, assim, tem uma ideia e tal, que deu lucro, né? E dá lucro, porque essa é a ideia das grandes empresas, né?
Eu só trabalho, em geral, só trabalho com brancos, quase que exclusivamente. E porque eu trabalho dentro de instituições. E nas instituições, eu trabalho com os incluídos, que são os homens, né? O masculino, o branco, o hétero. Esta é a criatura com a qual eu vou falar, buscando abrir instituição para os segmentos que estão excluídos. Então, tem todo um grande desafio cotidiano, ao fazer um workshop, ao fazer um seminário, ao fazer um censo numa determinada instituição, a olhar para os programas que ela tem e buscar dentro desses programas como é que eles poderiam ser mais plurais.
Tem muita dificuldade hoje de dialogar com outros RHs, porque eu ainda acho que as pessoas, o RH que é feito hoje é muito longe do RH que as pessoas precisam. Tá? O RH as pessoas precisam exatamente o RH que vai estar povoando espaços como esses, que vai estar dialogando com outras pessoas que são diferentes dele para conseguir entender outros olhares e conseguir criar uma organização com diferentes olhares. E isso é um desafio enorme, assim. E o que os RHs em geral fazem? É muito complexo, vamos fazer o básico. E aí fica no básico, é uma grande repetição do básico, com novas modinhas, né, novas teorias, aplica isso, aplica aquilo. O que o RH tem que fazer é sair de dentro das empresas. A empresa nada mais é do que uma cópia da realidade fora dela. E a realidade fora dela é múltipla. Não adianta você querer padronizar todo mundo, colocar políticas, processos. Cada vez mais a gente está vendo que a empresa quase que se gera por si só, ela é orgânica, né? Então, implementando. Na verdade, ela tá só repetindo o que é visto lá fora de uma forma um pouquinho mais estruturada e nem sempre. Então, cara, se você fica só com uma estrutura, que é isso, que no topo só tem homens cis, que quando você vai descendo tem algumas mulheres, você vai descendo tem pouquíssimos negros, pouquíssimos. E aí você vai descendo, tem pouquíssimos trans, enfim, não está refletindo o que é a realidade.
Frankly, very often companies are genuine in their desire to stand with our community, but sometimes they don't really understand what we're talking about. They're like, how many trans people are you talking about? You know, what does it mean for my company to give opportunities to trans people? I never see them, you know. How can I send the message? Help guide them in saying, what does it mean to be a friend to our movement? How can you be a friend to trans people? The issue is that once they have made that commitment, very often they come back to me and they say, well, okay, so how do I deal with pronouns? Or, you know, can you tell me what is in Latin America the right way to go about having gender affirming surgery in my health plan? Or you said that I should set up an employee resource group, but you know, no employee has come forward.
Eu penso no trabalho com este tema, eu penso em encontrar um lugar dentro de mim mesma, das pessoas com as quais eu trabalho e do CERT, a instituição da qual eu faço parte, encontrar aquele lugar onde é possível você se encontrar com a certeza de que tem uma dimensão humana em todos os diferentes grupos. Eu acho que isso é um aspecto importante. É um lugar seguro dentro da gente, de quem acredita que vale a pena fazer esse trabalho, porque dentro de um hétero, dentro de um homem, dentro de um branco, você tem algo que nos une. Então, como é que você encontra este lugar dentro de você como um lugar de conforto? Ok, tem esse lugar, como é que chegamos todos a ele?
Então, os RHs têm que ficar muito atentos, porque as empresas não estão traduzindo o que é a realidade. E aí, qual que é o perigo desse para o business? Isso é muito importante para o RH. O RH tem que saber traduzir isso para o business. Porque se eu falar isso para o business, ok, são só números. Mas como você traduz isso? Isso está traduzindo que o que nós estamos fazendo não está aderente ao mercado que nós estamos atuando. Então, em alguma hora, isso vai se romper.
É importante você fazer uma opção teórica, metodológica, mas que para mim, eu amplio dizendo, ela é espiritual, ela é energética, ela vai mexer com coisas nossas que são negadas o tempo inteiro pelo capitalismo, pela racionalidade. Você precisa ir mesmo para este lugar onde estão estas coisas que são comuns aos humanos. Acreditar neste lugar e fazer isso juntos.
A gente não tem o conhecimento técnico, teórico, e às vezes a gente não tem a vivência. E para mim o Diversity Box traz exatamente isso. E para mim foi muito prazeroso trabalhar, e além de ser prazeroso, foi muito seguro trabalhar. Porque eu sabia que tinha alguém respaldando o que a gente estava fazendo e dando uma segurança de que a gente não ia fazer besteira. E hoje as empresas têm que tomar muito cuidado com a imagem, né? Então, a gente tem alguns exemplos na mídia de artistas que talvez não foram bem assessorados e aí fizeram um grande estrago, né? Seja na mídia, na carreira deles, algumas empresas, de novo, que às vezes pintam um arco-íris, mas não entende profundamente do que está sendo falado. Então, para mim, o Diversity Box ele é essencial em qualquer empresa que pensa em fazer algo ligado à diversidade. A gente parte de um sistema que não é igual para as pessoas, então a gente tem que forçar essa equidade dentro das empresas. Como que eu traduzo isso em números, como que eu traduzo isso para o C-Level, como que eu traduzo isso para a matriz, que é uma dificuldade, que às vezes você trabalha numa empresa que só tem uma base no Brasil, que não conhece a realidade brasileira. E você tem uma matriz que está em outro país, europeu, americano, que é uma realidade completamente diferente.
That's where I think organizations like Sexbox are very important, is that they create that link between the commitment and the implementation. My office doesn't have the capacity, nor does it have the knowledge to accompany companies on this journey. And so I love the work of Sexbox because in kind of a fun and innovative ways, it tells companies, you know, other companies have been on that journey and I'm going to help you I'm going to help you get there. And I was very impressed when I met with some of Sexbox clients when I was in Brazil by the depth of their engagement. You know, it's not the superficial, I'm going to make a little article on my intranet on the International Day Against Homophobia. It's I'm really going to think about those difficult issues. The issue of the pronouns, the issue of, you know, celebrating LGBTI people not only on the International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia, or not only, you know, during Pride Month, but all year long. Send a clear message from senior management: you are welcome, you are part of this company. Because, you know, trucking companies, companies that produce glass for highly technical machines, companies that build cars also have a stake on LGBTI issues. And they also have to do the same journey that Coca-Cola went on. They have to go on the same journey that Microsoft went on, which is the journey from I am committed to LGBTI equality to I'm actually doing it. And I think that's the strength of Sexbox. And, you know, frankly, the fact that Sexbox is led by a trans leader is also extremely symbolic, which is instead of being the usual white gay guy like me that is saying, you know, I'm going to take you on that journey of inclusion, it is the part of the segment of the community that is the most marginalized that is saying, I'm actually the one that is going to take you on that journey. And I think that's also powerful. So I'm a big fan of Sexbox, and I'm really looking forward to see what Sexbox has in store for the next few years.
Olá a todos, sou Sivive Verito, diretora de Programas Globais e Engajamento com Altanico. Meus pronomes em português são ele, Gile. Sou uma pessoa branca, não binária, com cabelo castanho curto, olhos azuis, óculos e suéter preto. Muito obrigada, Pri Bertucci e Diversity Box, por organizar este evento incrível e por me convidar para falar pouquinho mais sobre Orgulho Trans. É muito importante celebrar o Orgulho Trans junto com as celebrações do Orgulho LGBTQI+. A comunidade trans é o grupo mais marginalizado dessa comunidade e é muito importante refletir sobre o progresso, celebrar essa bela comunidade e traçar estratégias sobre o que podemos fazer juntos para promover a igualdade. Uma pesquisa publicada no ano passado pela Universidade de São Paulo fez uma análise da população do Brasil e projetou que quase 3 milhões de pessoas se identificam como trans e não binária no Brasil, e que essas identidades são mais comuns entre pessoas mais jovens. Infelizmente, há muitas razões em todo o mundo para trabalhar para promover direitos, igualdade e equidade para esta comunidade. Por exemplo, no ano passado, 375 pessoas trans foram assassinadas no mundo, mais do que em qualquer ano anterior. Nos Estados Unidos, mais de 300 de projetos de lei anti-LGBTQI+, têm sido propostas, mais do que em qualquer ano anterior, e a maioria são projetos de lei anti-trans, e alguns já foram aprovados em lei. 58% dos alunos trans na Índia abandonaram o ensino médio, o que reduz imensamente as oportunidades econômicas para eles no futuro. No entanto, também houve alguns progressos no setor privado. De todas as empresas da Fortune 500, em termos de benefícios não discriminatórios, 93% das empresas implementaram medidas de proteção da orientação sexual. 91% das empresas implementaram medidas de proteção da identidade de gênero. 68% das empresas estendem essas proteções mundialmente. E 67% das empresas ofereceram planos de saúde que incluem pessoas trans. Então, este ano, vamos continuar com esse impulso e progresso quando celebramos o Orgulho Trans e nos comprometemos com ainda mais progresso para a inclusão no local de trabalho de pessoas trans e não binárias no Brasil e em todo o mundo. Na verdade, precisamos ser trans-inclusivos em nossas políticas, nossas práticas e nossa cultura no local de trabalho. Ao fazer que funcionários trans se sintam mais seguros e confortáveis, as empresas podem criar impacto positivo, significativo na vida de pessoas trans e ajudar a promover uma mudança no mundo laboral em direção a uma maior equidade e igualdade social também. Se as empresas puderem aumentar a representação de pessoas trans no mundo de trabalho e oferecer mais oportunidades de desenvolvimento para que funcionários trans possam subir a escada e ganhar mais poder econômico, a renda familiar anual de pessoas trans poderá aumentar em 14,9 bilhões de dólares anualmente. Esse aumento de 28% na renda anual de pessoas trans pode se traduzir em um aumento de 11,8 bilhões de dólares nos gastos gerais anuais do consumidor. Mesmo sendo números poderosos, a vantagem econômica da inclusão ainda deve ser secundária. As empresas devem melhorar a experiência trans no trabalho, porque essa é a coisa certa a fazer. Estar comprometido com a diversidade, equidade e inclusão significa estar comprometido com a elevação de todas as comunidades marginalizadas, não apenas algumas delas. Embora haja muito do que se orgulhar nos avanços da comunidade LGBTQI+, no local de trabalho, na última década, o verdadeiro progresso não pode ser alcançado a menos que inclua todas as letras da abreviação. Quando os empregadores entendem melhor os desafios que as pessoas trans e não binárias enfrentam, podemos realmente quebrar barreiras e criar verdadeiras mudanças. Eu sei que vocês estão pensando, ok, como fazemos isso? O que minha empresa pode fazer a partir de hoje? Tenho uma ótima sugestão para isso. Diversity Box criou uma plataforma para conectar candidatos, candidatas e candidatas trans a empresas que estão contratando. O link é diversityboxjobs.com. Muitas vezes, a desculpa para não contratar mais pessoas trans é que existe um pipeline problem, ou seja, não encontramos pessoas trans para contratar. Bem, se você tivesse um lugar para ir que poderia atrair talentos trans, você aproveitaria isso, certo? Claro que sim. Já sabemos que existe o caso de negócios, certo? Que a diversidade é boa para os negócios. As empresas com maior diversidade de gênero na liderança são 25% mais propensas a ter lucros maiores. No entanto, além do caso de negócios, também é boa para a sociedade. E nossos funcionários e consumidores sabem disso e estão começando a exigir isso das empresas. Em um estudo, 95% das pessoas acreditam que os negócios devem beneficiar todas as partes interessadas. Por exemplo, clientes, funcionários e as comunidades que a empresa atende e que vivem onde faz negócios, especialmente comunidades subrepresentadas, como as pessoas trans. Então, parte do compromisso com diversidade e inclusão é a contratação, certo? Então, publique suas vagas nesse canal e começar cada vez mais a disponibilizar essas oportunidades para a comunidade trans e não binária. Então, se continuarmos nesse caminho, como vemos o futuro do trabalho para pessoas trans e que as empresas precisam fazer para se preparar? Bem, no meu trabalho, tenho visto uma mudança significativa na percepção pública do papel do setor privado. Na verdade, 93% dos funcionários acreditam que as empresas devem liderar com propósito. E esta é uma tendência geral, mas as gerações mais jovens estão liderando o caminho. Metade da geração Y e quase 60% da geração Z pensam que todos os formulários e documentação devem incluir opções expansivas de gênero, não apenas homem e mulher. Além disso, a geração Z espera diversidade, inclusão e pertencimento em seu local de trabalho. Eles são mais seletivos quanto às empresas para as quais se candidatam, perguntam sobre valores no local de trabalho e filantropia, e são mais propensos a aceitar apenas cargos onde se sintam incluídos e bem-vindos. Em conclusão, as empresas precisam se atualizar. Se não mudaram, não vão recrutar o melhor talento. E é verdade que muitas empresas já sabem isso e estão começando a mudar. E a inclusão está se tornando um valor mais e mais importante e as parceiras com a comunidade também estão crescendo. Em breve, locais de trabalho que não criam espaços autênticos de pertencimento para todos serão extintos. Então, este ano, vamos celebrar o Orgulho Trans juntos, fazendo avanços reais em direção a mudanças tangíveis para pessoas trans e não binárias. E a Diversity Box é um excelente parceiro nesta jornada, liderando o caminho para um futuro melhor e mais inclusivo. E eu sei que uma mudança estrutural pode parecer muito grande e esmagadora, e algumas mudanças levam anos para serem implementadas, mas pequenas ações também podem ter um grande impacto. Então, se você fizer alguma coisa hoje, eu encorajo você a iniciar conversas. Conte a alguém como você celebrou o Orgulho Trans hoje e diga a alguém por que você acha importante que todos nós trabalhemos juntos para fazer parte desta mudança. Feliz Orgulho Trans e muito obrigada.
Hi everyone, my name is Lennon Torres and I am using she, her, hers pronouns, and I am a proud transgender woman and am so honored to be a part of your Pride celebration. A little bit about myself, I grew up on TV, I was on a show called Dance Moms, and because you can hear from the title, I'm a professional dancer and have also become incredibly passionate about gender equity and politics here in the United States. I'm super honored to be talking with you all today and sharing this video with you and just kind of sharing a little bit about myself. So I came out as transgender when I was 21 years old, and since then I have been sharing it very publicly, all of the good, all of the bad, all of the in-between, and it has been such an honor and such a pleasure to, share that and be honest about what it means to be trans right now in the world and specifically in the United States for me. What are some of the hardships? Where's my privilege? And it's been a really fun and rewarding process, but also really challenging. There are a lot of things that we still need to make better for trans people, especially for the young kids that are growing up in this world. That's why we're here, is to make it better for the next generation. When I'm thinking about what it means to be speaking with you all today, I feel inclined to share that I'm so honored to be bridging and communicating with another community. I'm not from Brazil, and I'm so honored to be a part of this celebration. I think as trans people, we need to work together and we need to, really build these bridges so that we can, work and pave our way to a better future for us and ourselves who are currently living, but also for all of the generations to come. So I really thank you for letting me be here today. And another question that was asked of me is, how I've become, in the press and why I'm in the press and why people are writing about me. And the short answer is I was on TV as a kid, and so people are listening to what I have to say. And I'm super honored because I'm able to project the stories and really lean on all the people that have advocated before me to continue paving a way for trans people and representation of trans people in our world. And so with all of that being said, my name is Lennon Torres again, and I'm so honored to be a part of your Pride celebration. And I'm so looking forward to visiting Brazil in the future. And I just wanted to say happy Pride, everyone, and sending all of my love from Los Angeles.
Dominique Jackson, thank you so much for being here with us, closing the program of our Trans Pride Brazil. It's an honor to have you here to this celebration in our trans community here in Brazil. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am absolutely in awe of the Brazilian community and the love that exists amongst the people themselves. I've received so much love from many people in Brazil. I even have an artist who did paintings of us in a town and on murals of India, I believe, Michaela J. and myself. And it was such an honor, a thing that just made me feel so honored and so visible and loved. And So I really regret that I'm not there with you in person, but this is the best I could do for now, but I will be coming to Brazil sometime soon. I just have to.
Maybe next year we can have the three of you coming. You, MJ, and Angelica Ross as well. She's already here with us. Your daughter.
I know, she's amazing. That's my little sister. I love her so much.
She sings Only You for us in front of 10,000 people 2 days ago. Was beautiful,
Oh my gosh, that is awesomeness. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Maybe next year you're here with us in the parade, in the big parade.
That would be wonderful.
I have a few questions for you, and I guess not many people know your story, so I would like you to share a little bit about, like, you're an immigrant as well. I'm also a US immigrant. I just became American actually a few months ago, and yeah.
Congratulations. I became a citizen in December. On December 11th, I was sworn in.
There we go. There we go. We're both immigrants. So I want to hear a little bit of your story about Trinidad, Tobago. I came from Brazil. You came from Trinidad, and all the hardships we go through as trans and brown and Black communities. So you can share a little bit about your story with us.
So growing up on my island, I really did not see poverty or face poverty. I just saw different economic structures. I saw that some people, but what I saw was happiness. So those that had a farm or did work with their hands and stuff like that weren't looked down upon because everyone was needed. Everyone is needed. Where I got into issues was when I started to identify, and not identify because I didn't know. There was nothing that said, oh, this is something and it's a thing. All I heard was that epitaphs being used about people that were different. I didn't understand what gay was. I didn't understand what there was no trans, according to what they said. But now in reflection, I see that I had the experience of seeing a trans person in Tobago, and they were totally ostracized from community. Like, they couldn't get into a taxi. They couldn't do anything, but they seemed so happy. They walked, people threw things at them, but they still seemed happy. I never knew what became of that person, but that was my thing to let me know that I had to leave. I only saw how one person was treated, and from that one person, I knew that me being different, I would not survive on that island. And so I ended up, it was a bit crazy. My mother moved here, then my sisters moved, and then I was being molested by my priest. And so I was like, listen, I gotta get out of here. I had to plan CXC exams, London, Cambridge, go to university. My grandmother had everything set up, the plan, but no one saw what this man was doing. And when they saw it, and they refused to believe it. So he stood on a pulpit and, said that everything that was being said about him was a lie. And then a few months later, I was said to be an acolyte. And I became an acolyte, and it was when the horror started, because I couldn't believe that the person that was supposed to be that connection to God was actually this person. And so I didn't understand the difference between pedophilia and being gay. So everything was just like, it's one thing. And then that made me feel weird, because here I am having the feelings that I felt. And I didn't want to be with a man per se. That wasn't my first thought. My first thought was, when is my body going to develop the way that I know I need it to be? And then the attractions came. And it was, okay, I'm only attracted to men. So immediately it was your gay situation. And I'm like, but I don't get it. When I came to the US and I moved here and was still very confused. I found places that supported being lesbian and gay, but did not support any other identity outside of that. And to this day, you still have people that are like that. And so I, had to find self. And I found self in ballroom, because in ballroom, I saw the girls, and the girls were like girls. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, it can be done. Wait, I can be the woman outwardly that I am on the inside. I can really do this. And the house kids would say, well, you're not that far. I don't know how you ever thought you looked any different. And they gave me strength and encouragement to continue to be myself, to grow, to look back at those traumatic instances and actually understand that I had a mission. And we never really understand that mission. And come on, let's think about it. An immigrant from a small island that comes to the US, suffers, goes through the trauma, the struggle, loses family, loses everything. And then through determination and perseverance, I'm thrust into this position now of, I was just trying to fight for my life. And I wanted to act. I loved the stage and I couldn't sing. So I didn't have anything else to do, but I knew, I felt it, it was intuition. But the one barrier was this difference that I had just found out that made me so happy. You know, so being an immigrant was really, being an immigrant is something that I actually do appreciate very much. I appreciate my journey because my journey taught me a lot. And through that journey, I could have sat off to the side and gave up. I could have given up and said, I'm being molested, I hate the world, I'm done. When I was homeless, I could have given up and said, I'm homeless, let me just stay on these drugs and continue life. I had to face the music and fight. And it was that fight of understanding that I was from a different country and I had to work even harder. That fight of understanding that I was a woman and I had to work even harder. That fight, that understanding that I'm a part of the LGBTQIA+ community and sometimes would not be recognized, but I would still have to work harder. So there you have it.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. And I'm sorry for all of those pains and trauma we have to go through, right? As trans people. Yeah, I mean, we hear a lot of similar stories, and I myself have gone through a lot of abuse in similar situations, even though I moved to US 12 years ago and it's more recently. But I see like how ballroom scene and the houses have a place of safety, right, for people to recover from so much trauma that we have to face. So can you tell us a little bit about the house of Revlon and Aluri, that when you just got, like, did you spend some time there, right? Did you live at those houses?
Well, I was in the house of Allure in Baltimore, where I found my truth. It was, and got to understand my truth and the possibility of it. It was the house of Allure and the house of Revlon. I was first a Jabot, but they would say that wasn't a house, but to me it was, because that's where family first started. And it's a sense of being someplace where being you is not the topic, right? It's like, oh yeah, you like to wear heels? Okay, go ahead, wear heels. You want to Vogue? Sure, go ahead, you know? So ballroom and that family and stuff created that space for me that I could feel like myself. I would walk into ballroom and the stresses of outside, the torture of sex work and all that stuff, because for me personally, sex work was not something that I wanted to do. It doing sex work debilitated me personally, morally, because it's not where I felt like I belonged. It was not something that I felt, okay, yeah, this is my thing, I'm doing it. No, it was not for me. And for my sisters and brothers who could do it and, you know, appear to be fine, I used to envy them. But then I realized we're all different, you know, so that was difficulty very much for me. But in ballroom, they made space for all of that. You know, I had sisters who would provide work. I had sisters who would do other things to help me at times. You know, ballroom gave that space of family. And yes, we have our fights and our arguments and everything like that. but at the end of the day, not dare one person come from outside and try to harm one of us, and we let them get away with it.
Yes, yes. And when you talk a few weeks ago, you're talking about how much of all of those experiences is a little bit reflect in Pose, right? In the series. So I want you to share a little bit about how was the experience of being Mama Elektra at Pose and play that role.
So it was, as a younger person, I was fascinated by the mothers, and Elektra is a combination in my head of the many mothers, the 5 grandmothers, Octavia St. Laurent, Danielle Revlon, and the 5 mothers, Peppa LaBeija, Avis Pendarvis, Dorian Corey, I'm missing someone, Paris Dupree, there's another, Avis, Paris, Dorian, Peppa, yeah. So the 5 mothers, it's Pride Month. I've said this so many times, it's stuck in my head. When you see, so when I saw these women, it was a grace, an elegance, and an ability to make the world believe what they were, right? And I'm not talking about trans. They made the world believe they were rich. They walked down Fifth Avenue with their heads held high. They went into the grandest stores because even though society had put them off to the side, told them that they couldn't be, they showed up, showed out, and created space so that they can live. They didn't just sit around and say, okay, we're gonna just be angry about this. They created outside of it, right? They created this space where we all walk into and we celebrate each other. But in our celebration of each other, we train each other to prepare for the outside world that doesn't like us. So people look at us now and they look in and they see the shade and all of that stuff, and they're taking it and thinking, oh, this is a kiki, this is something. No, shade was very important because shade was how you stood up for yourself. Like if you watch La Veneno, when she had to claim her corner, right? And so now we don't have to go cutting people, but it is a situation of where you have to be able to say to someone, listen, if you go out like that, I may never see you again. And that's where passing came, hence the category realness, because we had to be prepared. Girls lived in the projects and walked outside with fur coats and makeup done and were respected, right? So it was just that essence of of surviving and using your skill. And ballroom gave us that. Ballroom gave you the ability to walk into Macy's, apply for a job and speak properly, because the house mothers and fathers believed in education. They believed in the same traditions that were taught to them. So the parents that ostracized us, told us that we were abominations, that we didn't belong, and we didn't listen to them. We actually listened, because what we did was we took their strategy and we just took out some things, like, we don't hate you for not being what we think you should be. I can see your potential, but I can't force you to do it. Ballroom will see your potential, they will read you, and then they'll leave you alone.
And we see that a lot in the characters of Elektra and Blanca, right? Like how even with the fights and everything, they kept together. I think the 3rd season really brought that feeling of maybe polarities between those 2 characters, of like the angry Elektra sometimes and being mean with some people, and Blanca always welcoming and being like almost like this polarizations of masculinity and femininity. How was to play their role and see those amazing ways of expressing emotion intelligence towards community and creating safe space for living together?
So it was actually very familiar to me, because you did have the mothers that were rough, tough, and like Elektra, and you had the mothers that were very much like Blanca. And the mothers that were tougher were those that had to live on the streets to survive. Those that didn't, realize or thought to themselves, yes, maybe there's nothing else I can do, so I'm going to teach my kids to survive. But then you have a mother like Blanca who believes that the world can change, who believes that we can go into these spaces and get jobs and be successful, but we just have to be able to process and face that we're going to be discriminated against. Going to work every day is going to be kind of hard because people are going to say stuff to you and they're going to be derogatory and stuff, but we know that is what resilience is. So Blanca showed that resilient side in the sense of, I'm going to do this passively. And Elektra showed that resilient side in, I'm going to take what I want because you put me in this position.
Yeah, I was fascinated by how the two characters are so complementary, and talking about the experience of being on set with so many amazing people. How was for you to be part of those 3 seasons? And now the season, is the 3rd season the last one, I believe?
Yes, the 3rd season is the last one. It was amazing to work with such talent. And at times it would bring tears to my eyes because if Mr. Murphy and FX did not do this, all of that talent would still be somewhere fighting to be let out. It was amazing to go onto set and not have to deal with, the diva attitude. We are family, hugs and love and support beyond support. Like, we would have scenes that I know many of you laugh at, but for us, it was really tough to get to get those characters together, to face drug addiction, to face HIV and AIDS, to face the murder of a sister, to face homelessness, after having everything, being beaten in the streets, all of these kinds of things, we were, so we had to really support each other, be there for each other. Sometimes we cried on each other's shoulders, but most of all, every time you walked around a corner, someone was in a dip. Either Jason was voguing and dipping somewhere, Jeremy was doing the pull face, it was beyond fun, and it was good because it was such a great balance. When we had the tough scenes, it was, we're gonna get through this because next week we're doing a ball scene. And the ball scene is just gonna be,
It was so pretty to see everything, and people in Brazil are so amazed by this whole series. It's a marvelous work, and all of you has been such an inspiration for so many people here in Brazil as well. And yeah, you mentioned before about the hardships that we have to face as trans community, especially if you're Black and brown, to get jobs, right? To be accepted in the mainstream world. And that's pretty much what we did here last week with Angelica Ross. She was here talking about her organization, Trans Tech Enterprise, right. And how can we put trans people inside corporations and also inspire them to be entrepreneurs, to create their own business, to help, community, and then start hiring other trans people. What is your message for companies who still not caring about our trans community?
Well, I believe that it's high time that companies realize that they have to start getting out of our bedrooms and our identities, right? It's about what you can do. So it's been happening for many years. You can show up for a job and you are qualified, you can do the job, or you have the life experience, and they will still tell you no because they find out you're trans. Companies have to educate themselves and understand that if you are going to be servicing the world and want our money, trans people spend their money too. No matter how we get it, because you put us in these positions, we still have to spend that money. So we should be considered as your clients, as your patrons, as all of that stuff, and therefore we should be included also. And when companies are inclusive, right, they're showing the world that, these are human beings also, right? I can never understand how we live in a society where we are able to say to another person, you're not worthy or you are less than because of where they come from or because they didn't have the same opportunities that we had. You know, that's not right. Companies, you have a company for a reason. You have people that make billions and billions and billions of dollars at the top, but yet you have employees who can't even feed their kids. You have trans employees who can't even get insurance, but they're dedicated to these companies. And because of these companies, they can't even show up in their truth because companies have policies against being trans. But that worker is a valid part of your organization, of your company, because you hired them, you are paying them, and they're doing the job. So why the hell not recognize them for who they are? And by recognizing and being visible and fly the flag, you let people know that it's safe for them to be at work.
Right. Most of my time I teach, these people who want to hire, all our trans community to create this queer safe environment. Let's say bathrooms, for example, is such an issue, right? Like you hire sometimes 2 or 3 trans people to work in the company, but then they don't know how to call you by the right pronouns. It's a misgendering festival, all the time. And even like using the bathroom is a problem, So as you said, education is very important, right?
Yeah, and why are we worried about people trying to pee? Like, if you are going to the bathroom and you're worried about someone sexualizing you, that's another issue. Because no, like, we are, and to demonize us and like that, because a lot of times I'm looking at these folks that say, oh, if they can't use the bathroom, what are they gonna do to me? And stuff. No one is looking at you. No one, like, I get so frustrated with people and this narrative of, because you're in the LGBTQIA+ community, you want them. No, we don't. Like, a lot of times it's like, have you seen the people in our community? Have you seen the people, how beautiful we are? Why do we want to step outside into something that is not ours or does not belong to us or doesn't want to be a part of us? We are, and I hate it. I remember I had a guy, he had 3 teeth and they were all in his pocket. And he was saying to me, nah, I could never date you. I could never. I'm like, I am in a relationship. I am not looking at you. You are not even a possibility or a thought. Like how dare you be that confident? No.
Yeah, it's like this is gender confidence of thinking all, trans people, they over-sexualize us in their heads, right?
I mean, we are sexy as hell. That's it's obvious, yes. But because I'm sexy as hell, just because I wear a short dress doesn't mean you can catcall me. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times people are just mad because in a world where we're told we're not supposed to be, we move through so smoothly at times. And we have our brothers and sisters that are facing poverty, and I was there too, poverty, homelessness, everything. And what do? Show up amazingly. Done. Makeup, done. Clothing, attire, done. And a lot of times we're smart as hell and they just won't give us the opportunity.
Exactly. It's amazing to see how, I guess, people now, at least in Brazil, are getting more awareness of us, our bodies and everything. And it's still, like in Brazil, it's 94% of trans community are unemployed. 94%, meaning only 6% of trans people are getting jobs or opportunities. So we're doing this very hard work of taking people out of the streets, teaching them basic skills, and especially not getting them to spend years to go to university, but teach them the skill, especially with technology, so they can start working really quick. For instance, we have you go ahead.
I am on the board of directors for an organization called Destination Tomorrow, a nonprofit. And Destination Tomorrow just became the LGBTQ center in the Bronx about 2 or 3 years ago, ran by a trans man, founded and led by a trans man who has gone through the ringer. So when, as an agency now, what we do is we're looking to people for their life skill, for their experience, to turn around and help others. So you create jobs. Here's the thing. we need to to connect on an international level. All the nonprofits possible, reach out, destinationtomorrow.org, reach out, because let's build these bridges. For instance, when you're in the US and you hear certain people speak about trans in Brazil, we want to leave the US and go to Brazil to be trans. But when you get to Brazil and you actually speak to the people who are living the actual life, you hear it so differently. Paris, the same thing. We thought, oh, trans people in Paris, they are fine. Paris is the fashion capital of the world. Of course, trans people are together. No. Poverty, homelessness, discrimination, the healthcare. Like girls in Paris can't get hormones. So we have to connect internationally so we can see how we can help and assist each other and build these bridges and probably create jobs. And with this, we can create a system where it's not, like you said, it's not about you being able to go to school and stuff like that, because it's hard for us to go to school as trans, okay? They'll meet us in the bathroom at any given time, but beat us up when we're trying to learn in class. So we have to create these spaces that we know that it's not easy for us to get to university, right? We can do some program exchanges. So we can just build, like with Angelica's company. I know she's gonna do amazing things with the folks in Brazil, because it's about us supporting each other or attempting to support each other. It's not always about us fighting the people who are against us, but it's about us working with each other and becoming so strong that those people that are fighting to continue to marginalize us have no choice but to step aside.
Amazing. I love the idea of Destination Tomorrow. And yeah, I spend a lot of time in the Bay Area in Oakland, actually. And let's connect. Let's connect Destination Tomorrow, Trans Tech Social, Sex Box Institute here in Brazil. And actually what we were in Paris just 2 years ago, we launched our international conference there, and we work really hard with people who are trying to get hormones. There are a lot of Brazilian trans women trying to get hormone in Paris, and it was really hard. We are there seeing everything that happens, and it's, yeah, people think we get all together because they see us maybe on Instagram and we see everybody, right? And they have the idea that we got all figured out.
And there's another organization that I work with also that I think has actually done some work in Brazil, and that is Aurum Refugees. And I've worked with them with folks in Africa. And what that shows me is that throughout our entire world, there are people that have to leave their homes specifically because of their identification, something that should be embraced.
Exactly. We working hard to build these bridges between countries, has been 12 years pretty much. And we see one of the hardest things, to be really honest, is what we talked before, is like the inside fights, right? We're trying to build something and then someone get upset because they're not invited, or someone get upset because they're not as visible of someone else, and people start fighting. And I want you to reflect with me a little bit about what we can do to minimize the inside fights so we can get stronger together.
So I'll be honest with you, and I believe that these inside fights come from personal situations, right? Because I had to restructure my mindset to realize that every time I stepped in front of a camera, or every time I said something, even though in my space, I am not speaking for everyone, the people out there believe that I have to speak for everyone, right? So I have to educate myself on all the other identifications. I have to educate myself about the community that I am a part of, about the community that we grew. It's not a competition, because there's no competition for equality, right? Equality is about equality. Everyone should have the ability to have health care, have jobs, have homes, be able to make decisions for themselves, not out of the basic need to survive, but because they are thriving and they can make these decisions, and they can choose to make these decisions.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's more like a trauma state, you know, like hurt people.
So, and again, let me get back to that point too. It is also that you have to realize that because we are so marginalized and oppressed, because we are murdered, when you step out, you're not stepping out, you are a representation, right? So when we come together, it's not about, oh, we're against each other or we don't understand. Let's get rid of all of those barriers. All these barriers about myths about each other should be gone, right? And let's just see the human beings that we are. So you're a human being, you're my brother, you might be gay. So therefore, that's not my concern. What my concern is that you are able to eat, you're able to work, you're able to find space that you feel comfortable. It's not about, oh, well, you're gay, so you had this before and people recognize you and I'm trans and everyone is stepping on me. No, let's move past in order for us, I believe, to gain the successes that we need, we have to really suck it up and move past a lot of the pain. Or we can try to get to therapy. Get into therapy. See what is going on in therapy. And you may not find the right therapist the first time, and especially when you're trying to do this kind of work that is so close to home, you need someone to talk to. And it can't be your friend down the block, because your friend down the block is going to take it and go tell someone else, and then it's going to be an issue. Go to a therapist that you can sue if they take your business outside, and you let it out. And you find the right therapist. It might take 2 or 3, because, I mean, we are dealing with human beings here. But you will find the one that connects to you. And then you will realize that this work that we do is not about a competition. It's about equality for all. When trans women, the mothers took in kids, they didn't take in kids based on, okay, you're trans and you can do this. And no, they took in kids based on the fact that these kids needed mothers and fathers. And those trans women took in kids that were heterosexual, cisgender, questioning, like lesbian, gay. You have so many people that will come out and say, yeah, after polls, I was meeting people, even people in my own neighborhood, that would say to me, yeah, I had a gay mother too. And I was like, huh? And they're like, yeah, you know, the show really made me reflect. When my mom put me out, this lady took me in, she made me go to school, she made me blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm like, you're a part of this. And then they would go, oh yeah, but I didn't want to walk the balls. I'm like, you see, so we are a community that needs to realize that all of us that are marginalized, right? It's not for us to be as privileged as, it's to be as equal to.
Yes, yes. We have the same thing here in Brazil, like, oh, gay guys don't like trans people, and then trans people don't like gay guys, and then gay guys don't like the lesbians, and it's just like this fight between us. And I feel like patriarchy get a hold of us, right? And I remember this Audre Lorde phrase. I love Audre Lorde, and she said, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. As this force of just fighting and competition, it's not the way we're going to come together, right, as community.
Yeah, and you know what, I remember having encounters with a few gay men, and what they would say, they would always feel like there was a competition for love. Again, sometimes we accept the fact that we're fetishized, we accept the fact that we're sexualized, because that's the thing that gives us the attention we need, that gives us the drive to feel like we have worth. I had to break all of that down and realize that I am sexy. Yes, I am hot, but I am not to be sexualized, right? You can't do that to me and think that you're going to get away with it, you know? And I think that we have to stop with the competition. Oh, the gay guy says, well, if you can date a trans woman, then you can date a gay guy. No. And trans women, like, if you like a gay guy, you like a gay guy. If he likes you too, then y'all work that out. But if someone identifies as something, we need to respect that. right? And if a person, no matter how good looking they are, if a good looking guy wants to be with a trans woman, it's not to discriminate against him or put him down and disparage him. That's what he likes. So we take these things personally because we're looking to them, I feel, as our own self-worth. And your own self-worth comes from within, comes from you. You have to love yourself. You have to accept and appreciate. Oh, we came back?
Yeah, we lost connection for a minute, but it's back.
1 second. Okay.
Look, all those awards in the wall. Tell us about those awards. We have so many.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's wow. As I was going along my journey, I didn't realize that people were watching and people were paying attention. And I didn't realize that I was actually, as people would say, inspiring people. Because for me, it was just, I didn't want to be homeless. I didn't want to see other people homeless. So when I stood before people and I spoke about what I wanted, I didn't just want it for myself. I wanted it for my community also. When I had I was a showgirl, so I got on stages and I performed and I had the opportunity to host. And I tried to use that to bring people together. And I started to talk about HIV and AIDS, something that people were not generally talking about. Like, who wants to hear about HIV and AIDS when you're in a club party? And so I had this phrase that I would say, if you're gonna fuck, wrap it up, you know, and I screamed that over the microphone, you know, and I took a different perspective on how we addressed our community. It wasn't to make people feel bad for their, as we would say, lust or their sexual preferences or sexual desires, but to let them know, listen, you're an adult, do what you're gonna do with two or more consenting adults do is their business, right? It's not for anyone else outside of that to judge. And so from that, people started to think that I loved my community and they just started to give me awards. And there's one, well, I'm proud of them all, from my first award from the Latex Ball in 2003 to my AFI Awards honoring a year of excellence on Pose, to one of the best ones was Women of Excellence Award in Hollywood, excellence by Essence Magazine in Hollywood. So the awards, I had to learn that they were important in the sense of letting me know that I was doing great work, and it wasn't about, it wasn't about showing off or anything like that, but it was that people recognize you, they see you, you know. It's like, it was just like one day I looked at all the awards and everything, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I'm not a bad person. You know, it was like, wait, people do, because, you know, I went through agoraphobia, and well, I do suffer from agoraphobia, a version of agoraphobia. And I spent some time just in the house, didn't want to go outside. I felt very depressed. I thought that as a trans woman, I would go outside and someone would blow my head off. I was fighting for my green card. So I thought, you know, hey, I'm giving up on this fight. I was very tired. I had suffered enough and suffered for too long, and I was ready to give up. Yeah. And it was in those moments that I looked on my wall and saw the awards and thought, you would disappoint so many people if you gave up, because there's so many people that you don't realize. Sometimes we look to the ones that, oh my gosh, I idolize this person, why don't they recognize me? And we don't realize that there's so many that are looking to us and finding inspiration and hope and joy. And here we are not being happy and grateful for what we're blessed with. We're looking for the more, the bigger this, the bigger that. We have to take the time to enjoy what we have. And so these awards have come to mean the world to me.
I'm so glad you didn't give up, Dominique. Thank you for existing and don't give up. Look who just joined us in this conversation.
Who joined? I can't see.
Who is that?
Hey, Dominique.
Gosh, congratulations, Angelica. I am so proud of you. Only You is amazing.
Oh
now,
my goodness,
girl,
thank you.
That video, Angelica, you look so beautiful in the desert, the hair, the body, the movement. Like,
listen, mother, I'm just trying to learn from you and your Mugler, stomping around in Mugler. Baby, you are like teaching a master class. Every time, it's a master class in poise and confidence. It's never, you never have to do too much. It's your energy is always like, look at me, look at the proof. Do I have to say anything else? You're so fabulous. Congratulations to you and all that you're.
Well, I love you and congratulations to you. You in Brazil.
Yes, girl, yes. Listen, I had to try to make it happen. Like, you know, I was just talking to Pri. I was like, you know, you and I are queens of a certain, you know, we need certain things and things like that or what have you. And like, you know, it just, you know, the conversion rate, all the different things, it just, you know, did not really line up, you know, always to make like financial sense or whatever. But like, you know, every once in a while when I'm able, I try to just like make it make sense and wash out. Like I get part vacation and showing up for community, because the way that the trans and queer people here at the Trans March, like the way that you could see in their eyes how appreciative they were for, you know, for showing up. But like, you know, but also just don't probably know, you know, just because you're famous or whatever, they think that people are paying you like a lot of money to be somewhere. And I was like, no, you know, I'm one of the girls and I love y'all. And so, you know, I worked with the organization to get here, you know.
That is so beautiful, Angelica, and that's what we need to continue to do, because sometimes they think that we're so far removed. You know, if it wasn't for schedule, I just got back from Barcelona and Sweden, so a girl was like, yes. So it's been a rendezvous. So I could only do this by you know, via Zoom.
Absolutely.
But I'm so happy that you're there. And like I was saying earlier, you know, when one of us shows up, it's representation for us all. So
absolutely. No, trust me, I ended up FaceTiming Laomi, or no, I sent a Instagram story because there was one of the girls that was performing there. She's a house mother of the House of Zion. And she was just like, you know, Laomi, you know, so I love her so much, you know, so I sent Laomi the message, and Laomi was so, you know, heartwarmed by the message. So she sent a little kiss back. And, you know, so it's just those moments of understanding that we do represent each other. We do understand what the struggles are. We do understand that, you know, the people that showed up for the Trans March are small in comparison to the folks that always show up to the bigger gay party. You know what I mean? So it's like, so we understand what it means to us. We know what it means. And if we can, we try to show up in those spaces. Even if it's virtual, like we're doing right now.
Right, virtual, right. Oh my gosh, you look so beautiful. Your skin is just so good. Brown skin girl. Like, I live.
So are you back in New York?
I'm in New York for a few days now, so yeah.
A few days. I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to be in the Hamptons for the next few days, and then I am doing a show like I did at the Soho House in LA. I'm doing one at the Soho House in New York. If you're around, it's I think it's on, what is it, Friday? Friday is the show in New York. So if you're going to be around, it's a private invite only at the Soho House, and then I'll be performing Sunday at the Pride and hosting ABC 7, and then in the fall I'll be in New York from like September to November. So I know one of those times, Dominique,
we're going to connect. But guess what? We out here working.
Yes.
We out here working.
Thank goodness. Yes.
Thank God. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your experience being at Trans Pride. We have around 10,000 people, right, this year outside seeing your show. Tell Dominique a little bit about this.
It was, honestly, I was blown away because it was obvious to me that it wasn't just trans people in the audience. It was very clear that there were many allies and people were just full on in support. And it just, even as it got darker and into the evening hours,
it was like more people were there. And as I got off the bus at one point because I was performing on top of the bus, and I got off the bus and I'm performing to the crowd, and just the energy, people dancing along and singing along. I have to say that, like, you know, I really do appreciate the fans. I really appreciate the fans, because especially in those moments, like in São Paulo, you know, sometimes, you know, they can't afford the ticket prices to get to certain things, or to, you know, to access us in these ways. So like how they showed up there, it was just, I knew how much it meant to them, but it meant probably just as, I think, even more to me. It gives me the kind of like encouragement to keep doing stuff like that. Like whenever I'm in front of big companies like, you know, Target and, you know, Salesforce and things like that, they write me a nice big lovely check, and I love it and I collect it. And then there are moments when, you know, I'm able to do things that just for me money couldn't buy. Like I couldn't have that experience with some of them. So I'm glad that even during a pandemic that I was able to do that. It was so special. And I got to connect with local artists, local trans musicians and artists. And like, you know, I'm gonna learn a little Portuguese or something. We're gonna figure out some kind of collaboration so we can have a song of liberation together.
Well, hey, I think, didn't Beyonce do it or something like that?
Yes,
so,
yes.
Hey, community, Michael Jackson did it too, community. So,
absolutely. Yes,
and 2023.
Yes.
As I said, 2023, we have all of you inside of that bus, you know, gonna rock the whole town. By their
insane.
Yeah, by their COVID's gonna be over, and everybody's gonna be healthier and show up. And I guess, you know, there was a little bit of worry about.
But we need to talk to them, the people who gave all the money to the gay pride.
Exactly.
You know, like all the money that went to gay pride, we need them to cut a check so that the girls from Pose can all come down to Brazil.
To Brazil.
Exactly.
And don't let me get the pamphlet, and so I can see all the logos and call y'all out individually, because I will.
Yes. Yes, honey. Yes, because most of the companies give all the money for the big gay pride. Our trans march get like this little, and we have to do magic. And thank you so much for showing up, you know, and you know, not charging your full you know, fee that you desire.
Oh yeah, because listen, Dominique, no, we charge and it's so amazing to be Black trans women.
Yeah.
To know our value and to be able to charge what we charge, because we know what we are worth. But it's also this thing that sometimes, because you know how much you are worth, especially to your own community, there are ways that me and Dominique constantly show up for community and nonprofit events and different things where they're not giving us, you know, our full situation, but we just are able to find moments throughout. That's the way that we give back. That's, you know, we give back in so many different ways.
It's amazing to have both of you being part of this program. And I want to ask both of you to give a fine message to the Brazilian community who are so excited by having you speaking directly to us.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for all the love. I mean, like when you go down my timeline and my comments, it's always love from Brazil, love from Brazil. And I would love to be there at some point in time, just to be able to hug some people, just to feel that vibe that my sister Angelica has felt. But I also want to tell you to continue to be resilient, continue to be strong. But most importantly, you have to come together. United, you stand. I'm talking gay, lesbian, asexual. It doesn't matter your identification, because your identification a lot of times has to do with stuff that is no one else's business. Our bodies and what we do in our bedrooms is no one else's business. But guess what? They have made it that way. So I implore you, continue to be strong, continue to be motivated. Know your worth, right? Know your worth, like Angelica said, know your worth and know that you have value. Work towards your goals. But most importantly, please become your brothers and sisters keepers. Love each other, support each other.
Absolutely. And I would just add, because you just said it all, I honestly, because that is correct. But I would just add, how important it is to understand that life is hard. I don't care if you are trans, gay, LGBTQ, an immigrant, whatever it is, all of that aside, just going from young adulthood to being an adult, there are going to be so many challenges just because it's life. Being a Black trans person who has had to be resilient and learn to navigate spaces, it may not seem like it now, but this process sometimes makes us so much more capable than those who don't go through the things that we go through. So just understand that the call of your life is not to give up, is not to feel defeated, but to actually learn just how strong you actually are. And sometimes we will never know how strong you are until life puts you into a situation where you have to demonstrate that strength. So right now, I want to encourage every one of you to demonstrate a level of strength in your life that communicates to yourself that you can do this, that you got this.
Makes me so emotional. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be sharing all of this with you both. Angelica, it was a pleasure to have you here, and we hope to have you both together next year and more, because as we are talking with Dominic, building those bridges between countries and different cultures, we grow stronger and we get paid for what we are and get paid for the amazing resilience we show, because all of us has faced so much hardships, and we're here showing up with the resilience we all have built inside. And yeah,
well, I think Pri, we'll talk to you guys about joining the Trans Tech Summit. We have the Trans Tech Summit coming up next year in March, and it's an international event that flattens the world, because all you do is need an internet connection to be able to log on and learn from other trans people, but not just learn from other trans people. We have trans people teaching from other countries. So that means that we can have folks from Brazil and from your organizations taking up space at our summit in Portuguese with ASL interpreters and things like that. So technology can bring us together even when we can't be there in person, and we can just take advantage of that.
Oh, we're gonna make that happen. We definitely will.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy Trans Pride and Pride
Happy
and all
Pride.
that good stuff.
Happy Trans Pride.
Dominique, I love you. I can't wait to see you.
Yes, same here, Angelica. Keep rocking the world. Love y'all so much. Thank you. Happy Trans Pride, Brazil. To all
Happy
of
Trans Pride. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Todo mundo quer o Cidinho. Impressionante.
Você quer?
Quem é Cidinho na fila do pão?
O mais gostoso dos pão francês. Da fornada que saiu, sou o único, entendeu?
É drag king ou drag king? É queen, é king, é queer, drag queer? Drag king, o rei. Você é o rei?
Sou da putaria. Lá no Risca-Faca, lá da esquina da Avenida São João. Risca-Faca é onde você sai pra dançar com as mais velhas, com as mais novas, entendeu?
Eu queria que o Cidinho falasse um pouco comigo sobre essa questão de identidade de gênero e performance drag. Você acha que o Cidinho pode me contar um pouco sobre isso? Você acha que as pessoas confundem drag com trans? Como é que é esse negócio aí?
Primeiro, é um prazer ter aqui no programa, eu enquanto Cidinho Furacão, para os mais íntimos, para desmistificar essa polêmica que as pessoas tanto confundem. As pessoas confundirem drag king com identidade de gênero.
Eu acho que esse é um mal que Pablo Vittar deve sofrer, né? Muita gente acha que Pablo Vittar é uma pessoa trans ou uma mulher trans. A verdade é que existe um guarda-chuva, que é o guarda-chuva transgênero. E dentro do guarda-chuva transgênero existem várias identidades. Pablo Vittar é uma drag queen. Cidinho é um drag king. Isso não é identidade de gênero.
Então, o guarda-chuva, imagina lá, o guarda-chuva, entendeu? Aí tem o drag, a pessoa que performa tá aqui fora, e aí não tem nada a ver com o que? A identidade de gênero, é outra coisa, pá, o que acontece? No final das contas é o quê? Queer, né?
Essa criatura aqui quando acorda de manhã não é exatamente o Cidinho Furacão. É simplesmente uma pessoa não binária. Ah, mas peraí, uma pessoa trans pode ser drag? Pode. Mas nem toda pessoa trans quer ser drag. Ou nem toda drag quer ser trans. Entendeu a diferença? Existem pessoas trans que performam drag, mas a maioria das drags são pessoas cis ou pessoas cisgêneras.
Uma pergunta. Já aconteceu das pessoas, quando o Pablo Vittar estavam na dúvida de concorrer ao prêmio de categoria de mulheres na música, sendo Pablo Vittar uma drag queen, como que vai concorrer a uma categoria de mulheres sendo uma drag?
Pablo não se identifica como mulher.
Se Pablo fosse trans.
Se Pablo Vittar se identificasse como uma mulher trans ou uma pessoa trans não binária, esse seria um lugar mais adequado para essa identidade. Você quer dançar um pouco pra gente entender como é que funciona esses movimentos aí de Cidinho Furacão? Tem plateia. Masculinidade não tóxica, esse é um termo falado ultimamente. Explica um pouquinho o que é essa masculinidade não tóxica. Como é que o Cidinho faz?
Bicho é sexy, hein? Você diz lá em casa? Você diz na rua?
Em casa seria interessante. Como é que é o sexo com seu marido não binário?
Gente, porque vou responder como que é o sexo lá em casa. Vou responder o sexo lá em casa.
É isso que o povo quer saber.
Meu amor, é uma delícia. Meto tudo.
Quê?
Não é?
Então a sua masculinidade é essa, assim, de meter tudo?
Não, também tomo no cu, mas também meto pra caralho.
Então, o Cidinho pode se considerar gay porque ele toma no cu?
Claro que não.
Não?
É só alguém que toma no cu, que é uma delícia.
So an ideal workplace, you would have, a senior manager expressing support for their LGBTI employees.
As empresas abrirem a cabeça e abrirem os olhos para dar espaço para a gente é importante para eles e importante para a gente, porque a gente precisa estar inserido no mercado de trabalho, a gente tem nossa vida para gerenciar, a gente tem conta para pagar, a gente tem que resistir, a gente precisa de dinheiro, a gente precisa de emprego.
Giving LGBTI people a chance to reach their potential in the private sector is a pretty hard task to accomplish. If you look at the entire world, I think there is maybe, in the Fortune 500 companies, there's maybe 1 or 2 CEOs that are openly gay. And if you look at the board of those companies, you will find very few people that are openly LGBTI.
Mas a dificuldade é muito grande, porque tem esse estereótipo que a trans tem que ser prostituta, tem que ser cabeleireira, ou tem que estar no meio, sempre na área da limpeza, sempre escondida, sempre atrás, nunca à frente.
Nosso trabalho no Transmissão é o trabalho que muita gente de várias empresas teriam que fazer.
O poder público tem feito a sua parte. Nós estamos promovendo vários programas de inclusão, conscientizando a população LGBTI sobre os seus direitos, promovendo programas, por exemplo, para a inclusão do nome social nos documentos, mas não é só isso que nós precisamos. Nós precisamos que depois da qualificação que esta população recebe e da garantia dos seus direitos, haja um processo de inclusão.
Eu acho muito interessante desse tema é que a gente tem a parte da responsabilidade, então as empresas como cidadão ela tem que então entender como trabalhar com o público LGBTI, internalizar esse público nos seus dia a dia, nas suas tarefas e ações, e tem o outro lado, a oportunidade.
LGBTI people do not have the same opportunities than the rest of the population, which is particularly true for the most marginalized, like trans people. It's a human rights agenda, which by definition is a universal agenda.